his rhetoric was very, very harsh. Erdogan, he said something nobody saw was coming. I noticed that, though. I noticed that. Take a listen what he's saying here.
Israel in Gaza, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Arab League have convened extraordinary summits. In these summits, we declared to the world that Israel's increasing aggression has now become a threat that must absolutely be stopped for our region. We repeatedly demonstrated that this distorted mentality, which feeds on terrorism, constitutes a risk for international stability and security. After Palestine, Israel attacked Lebanon, Yemen, Iran, and Syria. It targeted civilian ships off the coast of Tunisia. It carried out assassinations against elected politicians and statesmen. And now, it has attacked mediator Qatar. This latest assault has carried Israel's banditry to an entirely new dimension.
Okay, one thing I have noticed here is he is alluding to recent attack in Yemen when Israel destroyed the government officials, if you don't remember, in Yemen, in Sana'a. This is very, very strange because Turkey is a Sunni country. What happened in Yemen was something that had to do a lot with the Shia and especially with the Iranian Shia. Is Turkey telling the world that regardless of who we are, Shia or Sunni, we have all experienced this oppression by Israel and that we are all Shia and Sunni united on this? Is this something he's saying here? I think so. Let me know what you think.
I find it highly important and meaningful that we are holding today's summit in nature. I underline that the world public should view this meeting as a manifestation of the unconditional support of the Islamic world for Qatar. I hope that the decisions we take today will once more declare in written form our heartfelt sentiments to the world public. I am pleased to witness that my esteemed brother, Emir Sheikh Tamim, has handled this crisis with dignity, wisdom, and firm leadership. As Turkey, I once again emphasize that we stand by our friend, brother, and ally Qatar at all times. My dear brothers, it is now an undeniable fact that the main aim of the Netanyahu government is to continue the massacres and genocide in Palestine on the one hand, and on the other, to drag the entire region into instability without any distinction. What we face is a terrorist mentality nourished by chaos and blood, embodied in the form of a state. This mentality, which openly violates the UN Charter and challenges international law and the rules-based international system, is able to survive only because the crimes it commits go unpunished. Lately, we see some insolent Israeli political imposters frequently repeating the delusion of Greater Israel. Israel's attempts to expand its occupations in neighboring countries are tangible manifestations of this goal. The Islamic world, with God's permission, has the strength and capacity to frustrate Israel's expansionist ambitions. Netanyahu's massacre network losing its balance has now started to create costs even for its own supporters. In the face of reckless attacks against Qatar, even those who have been giving Israel unconditional support have been compelled to react. Some countries announcing their intention to recognize the state of Palestine is, of course, a positive step. We would have wished this to have been done at an earlier stage. However, unless such steps are supported with concrete and strong sanctions against Israel, it will be difficult for them to yield results. Our diplomatic efforts must be intensified to increase the imposition of sanctions on Israel, and international legal mechanisms must be used to hold Israeli officials accountable before justice. Dear brothers, we know that unless Israel faces strong reaction and sanctions, it will not halt in the short term, and instead will accelerate its policies of occupation and destabilization. We are aware that we do have the means to prevent this. It is now imperative that we achieve self-sufficiency in certain areas. At the forefront of these is a deterrent defense industry and development. I want you to know that we are ready to share our capabilities and experiences with you.
Okay, so that is right then, and there is a statement from Erdogan confirming that his country is at war with Israel. Why I said that? What he said just now, take a listen one more time, then you'll know what I'm trying to tell you here.
Deterrent defense industry and development. I want you to know that we are ready to share our capabilities and experiences with you.
Okay, so we are ready. Turkey is ready to share capabilities and also experiences. Okay, I understand capabilities that he is willing to share because Turkey does have a very, very good military. But what about experiences? Like, what kind of experience are you talking here about? If you do not have been at war with Israel in some way, shape, or form, Turkey is not in a direct confrontation with Israel. So what kind of experience he's talking about? If he's at war with Israel, what kind of war he is at with Israel? It is, what I understand from it is that he's referring to Syria. He's referring to Syria. Now, of course, Syria's war is not Turkish war against Israel, right? Wrong. Wrong. I repeat, wrong. Turkish war with Israel starts war between Syria and Israel. That's how Turkey sees it. And this is why he sent his military. Turkey started training Syrian forces. And so when he said that we are ready to share our experiences, it means Turkish troops are already in Syria, stationed in Syria, and they have experiences of how Israelis can attack, which way, what kind of weaponries they will be using, what is their strategy. Turkish military, in other words, they have first-hand experience with Israeli war and war machine. This is something unbelievable. Nobody saw this coming, but I think it is very, very important here for us to highlight what Erdoğan is saying.
My brothers, I believe we must intensify our cooperation starting now in these fields in order to win the coming decades. I also believe that Israel must be economically pressured. Past experiences show that such steps bring results. As Turkey, we have suspended all trade transactions with Israel for 1.5 years. Thus, we have given up an annual figure of $9.5 billion. I am also of the opinion that support for the genocide case brought before the International Court of Justice is of great importance. Moreover, we must be able to implement concrete steps and mechanisms to ensure the security of our region ourselves, in unity. At this point, I believe there are things that can be done within the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Today, until the State of Palestine, founded on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital and with territorial integrity, comes into being, we will resolutely continue our struggle. In this sacred cause, we cannot accept displacement, genocide, or division. I wish for this summit and the decisions we take to pave the way for additional steps to halt the Israeli threat, and for the outcomes of our meeting to be followed meticulously. I thank all those who have contributed to the organization of this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Looks like Turkey, in this case, he was thankful to Egypt. Turkey was thankful to Egypt when he said, I thank everyone for their cooperation and their sincerity, their action, walking the talk, not just talking the talk. I think he was hugely referencing to Egypt, because right after this meeting or during this meeting, I'm not sure when it happened, Erdoğan met Sisi, Abdul Fattah Sisi of Egypt, the Egyptian president. And they discussed and agreed. Now, the important word here is agreed. Both of them, they agreed to create a NATO-style Arab force. Okay, now I know that Turkey is not part of the Arabian Peninsula, but looks like to me doesn't matter. Turkey is willing to join the Arab forces, and the Arab forces, they have really no choice but to include Turkey in all of this, because Turkey is also a victim of Israeli attack. Guys, this is a declaration that nobody saw coming, but Turkey, Egypt, if they do form this NATO-style Arab force, that will be something amazing. But at the same time, we know the devil is also working. We have new recent report that said that United States and Qatar, they signed a joint advanced cooperation pact between the two countries, Qatar and US. In other words, US is freaking out, they're panicking, just like Israel is panicking. Israel is panicking, make no mistake. But because US can feel it that my child, my little baby Israel, is not feeling very well about this Arab summit, they said to Qatar, hey, why you are making so much of a big deal about this Doha attack? Let's sign an agreement, let's cooperate, I will be protecting you, I give you word, let's do it. You don't have to go to those Arab leaders. But guys, the devil, they always lie, and we have to be careful about that. Subscribe to my channel, see you in the next video.